I was concerned about what he's going to do with that puppet.
What puppet?
Later.
Somebody bring in Savage.
His hand puppet. I mean, was he going to morally abuse the hand puppet later?
Oh, that was just, he's a fucking disrespectful, ignorant motherfucker.
Well, you know, he can only dodge the same question so many times.
Hey, Scott, will you bring your volume down about 5-10%, please?
Check 1, 2. Is that better?
Okay,
Yeah.
my mic's
It's more
working.
equal to everybody else's.
Audio's working.
Thank you.
That's working.
Is that more equal?
Good, I'll turn back up again.
No, it's a little bit too low, Scott. Bring yourself back up a little bit. About half that.
Check 1, 2. 1, 2. Check.
It's good. It's good.
Any better?
It's good.
Savage Minnow was requesting to be brought in.
Did she not click the link? Oh
no, she said don't bring me in until she gives us some kind of sign. Give us a thumbs up if you want in, Savage.
Yeah, she's given the sign.
I haven't seen. Okay, well, I'm gonna take your word for it. She'll complain later, I guess.
Yeah.
There we go.
Welcome to the shit store.
And the sign
I said it in the side chat, but it's okay. You were distracted. Here, I'm gonna turn this.
Okay. So where did that guy come from? Let me just apart from the planet Uranus, where did he come from?
California?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's from LA.
Yeah,
so he's from Los Angeles.
Yeah, but like, how the hell is he a Zoroastrian? Like, I'm so confused because like all the things that he was saying like didn't
because he
make
wrote it
sense.
down on a napkin one day. This is his story.
No, I thought he dated a woman.
He wrote it down on a napkin.
Did he not date a woman?
And then he met his girlfriend, who happened to also be a Zoroastrian. So he put her and the napkin together and decided it was God talking to him that revealed himself that the true God is Ahura Mazda.
Ahura Mazda. Okay, here's the thing. Even if you believe that Ahura Mazda is the true God, that does not make you a Zoroastrian. Like, literally, the only thing that makes you a Zoroastrian is if your parent is a Zoroastrian.
Listen,
they don't take converts. Of religion.
I just beg to differ. I'm sorry, Savage, because if that guy got pussy because of the napkin thing, that God not only exists, it's also true. So I'm with it, you know.
But like the shit that he was talking
literally
about,
worships the napkin God. He literally
he does not worship Ahura Mazda.
And he said that, you know, everything he learned about the true God, or I can't even pronounce the name of his God.
Ahura
Mazda.
Ahura Mazda, yeah.
It conformed to what he wrote down on the napkin.
Obviously not, if that's what he wrote down on this napkin.
Yeah, I mean,
well, he talked about the
Savage is
properties.
right, actually.
He talked about the properties of God as it was revealed to him in a dream or whatever. And he wrote it down on a napkin. It's the only thing he could find, I guess. And when he met his girlfriend, they agreed that, oh, you're worshiping the same God I worship. It's the same thing. And then so he's like, oh, okay, so this must be the true God. So
okay. I need to see. Okay.
So he's not a Zoroastrian. He claims to be a Zoroastrian.
He claims to be. But last week we got into a discussion where he said that there are no converts to Zoroastrianism, and then his interlocutor, the guy that was debating him, actually went back and looked up the Zoroastrian website based out of California.
California, where there are no Zoroastrians. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, there are some. There are some.
And then based on that, it says, yes, we do. We do accept converts.
I have literally met Zoroastrians that live in California that are like descendants of people who are from the Caucasus Mountains.
Inverted commas. Yeah, like we're all descended from Julius Caesar, that kind of thing. Yeah, I get you.
Right. Yeah, but like Zoroastrian is a hereditary religion, so like they are actual Zoroastrians. But
it's also the smallest and the most likely to die out in the next generation.
But for him, it doesn't matter. For him, it doesn't matter because the same God of Zoroastrianism is the same God of Christianity. Like he'll tell you, like even the wise men that came to bring gifts to when Jesus was born in Bethlehem. Those were Zoroastrian.
Not according to the Bible.
Well, that's
there
what
are
he
some
says.
Zoroastrians who believe that, but that's
No, according to the Bible, those are Venus, Earth, and Mars.
I believe even in the Middle East there are no Zoroastrians. The only place Zoroastrian exists still is in India, and it's a very small community.
Yep, that's my friend.
So, and as far as I'm aware, last time I was aware, they didn't start emigrating to California.
The one that I dated immigrated to California via the UK, actually.
Right.
I have supporting evidence.
I don't believe you.
I'll give you his name in the side chat. I'm not going to put it in the big chat, but
is it who we talked about before?
You will look him up, and sure enough, you will find that he is indeed actually kind of a somewhat well-known Zoroastrian.
Is that who
who is? Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll give it a look up just to humor you.
I told my brother about that.
I know this guy. He's not Zoroastrian.
I love the concept.
No fucking.
I love the concept of a well-known Zoroastrian. I mean, I love it.
Well, he's like, I know this guy. He's not Zoroastrian. Like, you do know who he is.
Yeah.
He is Zoroastrian.
But only because I know he's not one. I mean,
look it up. He is.
Yeah,
I'm not kidding.
Again, right? Okay, sure.
Savage knows, okay? Has it not been established in the community?
I dated a guy for 3 years. I know what his religion is.
Oh, okay. See, there's pussy. There you go.
I mean, that's so I know what his religion is.
Can't go wrong with Zoroastrian.
Did she just say I sucked his penis so I know what his religion is? Is that what she said?
Yes.
He saw the light.
How is he still alive?
Well,
wow, that's amazing. 1952.
Oh.
Okay, let's
conversation, debate.
Let's stop the conversation.
We've got Artie's here.
Artie, it's a little awkward now.
Artie, tweeted me. Artie needs the link.
At least you're married now. That's the main thing. You've got over it.
Does anybody else know Artemis brain sample? No.
Who?
I do.
Does anybody else what?
Artemis brain sample.
I know who that is. Hangs out with Pete the Tucker.
Yeah. Artemis brain sample is just Artie. He is fantastic. Artie, get your ass in here.
I know Artie.
Huh?
I think I know Artie.
Artie has a giraffe.
I keep hearing Arby's, and I'm not gonna lie.
I had a conversation with a guy earlier that took 30 minutes between Robin, Robbie, Ronan, Ronnie. I had to fucking type it in the chat. I was like, my name's Robert, pronounced Robbie, and he still said Robin.
Now, there's another guy here that may want to join the after party. And he's a guy I was debating this weekend who says that atheism is the biggest cult.
I'm not impressed by the people you've demonstrated to have debated so far. Okay, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to the question: where the fuck did you get that guy from? And I'm not looking for California, right? Or LA, which are very good answers considering what we know about those places.
No, we want to know. We want to know the process. How did you? Yeah.
So
and by the way,
I joined a debate group on Facebook called Fight on the Fence, and so Alejandro was there, and we've been debating this moral question for over a year now.
No, you're lying. You are lying.
No, that's impossible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we debate a lot of things like morality, reason. Everything comes from God for him. Like everything has to come from God. It can't come from natural sources.
I know.
So I will give him
this. Chance, right? I like to have a banter with a person to find out how they're going to come back and forth with me. As I said before we went on stream, I really prefer the guest coming on 10 minutes before we can find out, back and forth. I'm going to put my hand up and say, he I wouldn't say lambasted me, wasn't my wheelhouse. I couldn't get the words correct at the very start. I was nervous, but I think I got my point across eventually.
Your mic is cutting in and out a little bit there, buddy.
I put a fucking, how's it about now? I put a bloody, what do you call it, barricade on it? Top and bottom.
A barrier.
A noise, whatever.
How much, MathPig, how much did you want during the debate? Was there a point where you would have killed to have my emergency questions book over here?
Okay, I asked you to come up with your emergency questions and ask one of your longest outstanding friends.
No fucking
on
way.
a philosophical question we were discussing, and your emergency question was, if I may quote, have you ever tried to suck your own dick?
No. That no.
It's a good question. It's a good question.
Well, first of all,
I wanted to know what was in the notes before you fucking burned them. But here I am backstage, like yelling and like you're just lighting it up.
They're gone. And also, first of all, you asked me to come, in the after party with Christopher. Me and Christopher, we've been known for years. What the fuck do I think I'm going to ask him?
I wanted you to come up with some dirt, and you'd be like, do you remember that hooker in Amsterdam?
I asked him. And they asked
on the sofa, that sort of drama, and get some shit going and all. But you went, listen, have you sucked your own dick?
And I asked him if he ever sucked his cock, if he ever tried to suck his cock. I think it's a perfectly legitimate question. It tells a lot about the person, whether the person is curious about his sexuality, if he's homophobic. I mean, it's fantastic.
I probably would have when I was 14, but even then I knew my back wasn't flexible enough.
No,
see,
I can.
See,
I can.
There you go. Right? Thank you very much.
Okay, we've established that Richard wants to suck his own penis, but couldn't because his back.
No. See,
when I was 14.
When you were 14, yes, right.
Which is highly hormonal and experimental, and
Two questions, right? The first one is very, very short. Why have you got a Toyota logo behind you? The second question is, what did you think of tonight's debate? Discussion, open platform.
It was killing me. It was horrible. I could have done better than that guy in every single possible way.
Yeah.
In defending the proposition.
Right. Well, you see, this is the problem, Richard. You don't
and
want to watch.
It's all Toyota symbol because
I'll have a hangout with you if you buy a watch. If you buy a watch, we'll have a hangout. Because the last two. Okay, so do you ignore the watch?
Richard,
no, I just don't know how to read it. I'm just kidding.
Richard, can I ask you a question?
Anything, sir.
Your objective assessment of the entire thing. So, based on what we were talking about and the questions that we were asking, did you think that there were any points that we were making from any of us towards Alejandro that were more or less relevant? And if so, which ones did you think were pointed? Which ones did you think were maybe misguided? Based on
I think perhaps the best was subjective versus objective from the point of view of God and how that standard is created.
Yeah, thank you.
That's probably the best one. Yeah.
Although technically the debate was not on whether morals are objective; it's whether they're a social construct. Which is kind of giving,
I don't think they are.
Which is giving the ground to the theist.
Yeah.
It's giving plenty of ground.
I would say 80, 85.
Okay.
I kept pointing out evolution. Evolution, I think, with the whole survival of, our species is a big part of our morality as well. Not as much as social constructs, because obviously, you can have slavery and still survive, but evolution does play a big part.
Well, and you were saying about how morality has changed over time, but he's saying that morality is objective and it's never changing, and
what I think he was saying that morality didn't change; it was fully objective, but our understanding was increased as our society went along. It felt to me at least 70% of his argument was on our side, but the only difference that he was coming across was we're saying it's society driven, and he was saying it's an understanding of what God wanted.
Like gravity, science, we discovered.
So I will give him that little bit of Zoroastrian.
Even that, there was the problem of what is concept of working.
Can I send my boy the link to join us, or what do you think?
Yeah, I have sent Artie the link.
Yeah.
I can bring a 10th person, or Richard can bring a 10th person in, but the last person on my setup can't be on screen because 10's not nice. 3x3's lovely, but the 10th person, sorry,
I concur.
You're not pretty enough.
Can I? Yeah.
So he can come on as long as he understands he's not seen, or
there's 2 slots open, and I've sent one to Artie. Whoever gets here first gets on camera. The other person won't be on camera. If your mate can get here before Artie.
Meta.
Sorry, just to finish. Just to finish real quick. Well, I think one of the biggest issues was is understanding of what exactly is a working society, because it was totally utilitarianism from his point of view, but it was really weird because you kept mixing if a society is successful, then their morals are okay, and the morals are okay, they come from God. So
everyone say good night, Jefferson.
Yeah.
Good night, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. I think you did real well in that, Jeff, actually, because some of the points you made were really spot on and really showed up that he was flip-flopping between two different positions.
Right, if I can just say, if Jeff is leaving, can that slot be given to Soccer Count? Because about 3 different people before the debate even started was like, this is totally a Soccer Count an argument. So.
Oh yeah, soccer's brilliant at the moral question.
Yeah.
For sure.
So if we could get Jeff out, get Soccer in, and that still leaves 2 slots open. I'm sorry to discuss it, but I can't actually control it yet. So.
Yeah, listen, I'm leaving too because I don't know what I'm doing here right now. So yeah, take care, guys. Cheers.
Okay,
Fabio, thank you.
And then there were 6.
Lots of slots.
Hey D, will you give me a thumbs up?
Bye, Fabio.
D, if you can't give me a thumbs up, I believe you're a troll. Give me a thumbs up or goodbye.
So there might be things that you might have to refresh my memory on because I did.
Hey, Isaiah, what's up, man?
So we need to start focusing.
Get a little bit distracted.
We need to focus in a little. I think we're going to start.
So this is Isaiah. This is a guy we've done some discussions and debates back and forth. So his name is Isaiah. He's got his own podcast as well.
Hello, Isaiah.
How you guys doing?
Welcome to the pigsty. May I ask straight up, are you one of them? Are you one of them dirty theists, are you?
I am definitely a Christian, but yeah, I'm definitely a Christian. But I don't like to debate or, attack people.
Yeah, good. We don't like debate. We like formal discussions. Did you watch tonight's discussion?
You know what? I had just gotten up, and so Scott has sent it to me, and so I got extremely late. So by the time I woke up, it was already finished.
Before, so do you know his premises, his arguments, his conversation?
Not at all. Can you enlighten me?
Remember the guy that we went on for 4 hours with? Isaiah, remember we went on for 4 hours? And you were like, what the hell are you going for 4 hours for, man? The fuck?
Oh, yeah.
That's the guy. Yeah.
His views don't make sense. There are certain things where you guys are like, wait, but like there are certain things where it's like, well, Zoroastrian does tie in there, and I kind of wanted to point it out, but like for the most part, like his beliefs don't align with what I'm familiar with as Zoroastrianism. Like the concept of like that God is good and good is God is like one of the things that I feel like a lot of people were missing. So like you become holy yourself by good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Like that makes you a good person, and thus you are partly God because all good is God.
So let me ask you this:
Isaiah, do you want to mute if you're going to move around because it's just a lot of
I'm sorry.
So do they believe that God's nature is what determines good and bad, or is it the good and bad? That God
doesn't have an answer. You can't answer.
I couldn't get any answer from him on that.
So God,
four people talking.
He insisted that he did give an answer several times, and he was getting frustrated because he kept answering it. Apparently, although I never heard an answer.
Well,
I sent you a link on Twitter.
So there's like the concept of like that there is good and there is bad, and so there is like a nefarious force as well, and I can't remember what the name of it is. It's like the opposite.
Moss your nose.
But like basically you want to be closer to Ahura Mazda, which is good, and further away from bad. So like, but that's really like that's what Zoroaster teaches. And that's what the religion is, like the followers of Zoroaster, who's the one who like came with like the truth and like explained that like God is good. And so if it's something that is beneficial to mankind, then it is of Ahura Mazda. But Ahura Mazda doesn't make any determinations as far as like this is good, this is bad. Like Ahura Mazda doesn't say anything.
Right.
There
is no answer to that question
in
Zoroastrianism.
Right.
Simply because obviously Zoroastrianism predates that question by quite some time, even though that question predates Christianity. It's still 2,000 years in the past.
Yeah.
So they didn't even consider that could be a relevant philosophical question.
No, the Euthyphro dilemma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was I actually describing that earlier? I wasn't sure that's what it actually was.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
GEOSAM, if anyone knows, GEOSAM has used that quite an awful lot, and I actually called him out on it, and I was like, man, I am sick of listening to that fucking shit about the Eurofil.
Don't get me started on GEOSAM.
Right, Gaylord doesn't even fucking know. He has dealt with GEOSAM for an awful long time, and has heard the Eurofil dilemma, and is no way interested. He comes in for shits and giggles, and just annoys.
Well, I mean, it's a question, posed to the theist, which believes in omnibenevolence, which is answered. It's a dilemma but you fail on both horns, and obviously William Lane Craig is famous for trying to answer it, and he fails obviously because he just puts it off a step to say, well, it's God's nature, and then the same question could be posed about God's nature. Is it God's nature that it's good?
Well, he says it, yeah.
Right, and there you go, and then you're into an infinite regress.
Right.
Good. Go ahead.
They'll say that God's, what's good is both God's nature and an objective fact. But I haven't heard why it's an objective fact. It seems like it would be subjective to the mind of God.
Yeah.
But unless you're arguing for a pantheistic kind of God, it wouldn't really resolve, because the thing about the normal Christian God or the Abrahamic God is he's separate from his creation. And so there's this separate thing going on. And so if morality is part of, of reality,
Richard,
then I don't see how that
or
resolves.
Sokka has now the link. So if you see them,
I would bring him in. Yes.
Yeah. Again, I as yet it seems to me it is a dilemma, and so saying it's both doesn't answer the dilemma in any sense of the word. It's just saying there is no dilemma. Boo-hoo. Yabu sucks. So, I mean...
He did say that we were wasting his time, and Scott will vouch for this. This guy was biting at the bit to have this conversation, and he wanted to do it to trigger all of us. Well, mainly his original interlocutor, who realised that how much of an asshole he was after we've been looking, and was like, no, I ain't wasting my time.
Right.
Well, he was really aimed at you, MathPig, from what the conversation was. He's like,
well, I'll admit my philosophical terminology isn't great. I understand philosophy when you discuss with me and you talk about what this means and that and the other. I have slight Asperger's and all the rest of it, but I prefer to have questions. I prefer to talk about a subject rather than go, are you a materialist? Are you a universalist? I don't give a fuck.
Had I got onto Discord earlier, I would have had a sleep earlier, and that way I would have got on and just said why he's begging the question and special pleading, depending on which answer he's given, because he gave two answers.
I don't think he's genuine. He's not genuine. I think he answers according to what's convenient at the time within the conversation itself. Like 1 minute, it's valid to ask a philosophical question. But then when you start making statements that are of a philosophical nature, or another question down the line, like the Euthyphro dilemma.
Show me a face, Sokka.
Then it's different. It's like
I'm going to get Sokka. He has a puppet. Yeah.
Oh, it's a motorcycle. It must be Bruce.
That's not the normal Sokka one.
It must be Bruce. Bruce
is
a motorcycle.
Oh, that's Sokka.
I had to wipe my phone a couple months back because it ripped on me, and I lost a lot of my sock puppets on my phone. Like saved pictures.
Oh wow! I will try and find my collection, because I used to do a collection of your avatars.
Saka, did you have the privilege or mispleasure of watching the original discussion, or did you just hear morality and jump in?
Oh,
I know. I saw morality and tuned into the original stream, and it was a stream. Okay, it was a stream. All right. Yeah, definitely.
It was a fucking train wreck. You mean?
You didn't.
We want the morality expert.
You don't think he brought any deep knowledge?
We want the morality expert to give us his opinion.
Well, there was one really interesting thing that he did touch on, which was about deriving the nature of God based upon its creation. And I always love this because you actually hear this in not just whatever he was putting out there, but other theistic arguments out there that you can derive some type of some characteristics of God by taking a look at the reality around you. Like, this universe is good, like that's a good one. Just right there is that this universe is good and therefore reflects this good nature of some type of creative being. But
terrible argument.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It actually falls flat on its face. I mean, there's a lot of really easy and really common reputation for something like that. That any person that's going to put it out there is going to ask us, like, oh well, this is this perfectly good universe. There's nothing bad that happens. There's nothing that you consider evil or sinful or anything like that. Well, no, that stuff obviously does exist as well, but that exists because of the people in free will. Yeah, the people that inhabit this universe, they have free will and they have the capability to do these things. But I mean, like, there's like the evil God kind of argument and stuff where you can always just say, well, what happens if it's just like some malevolent God creates the universe, because there's a lot of evil things out there, and good is that stuff that happens in spite of the evil God that exists. So it actually doesn't get anywhere. You can't derive anything about the characteristics of God or the nature of God based on looking at this creation. It doesn't tell you anything.
Mm.
Provided
there's a dichotomy. Provided there's a dichotomy between good and evil. I mean, if there's a third option, then that argument doesn't work, does it?
Well, yeah, like there's certain Christians that argue for a non-dual type of God that say that, well, good can only exist because of the presence of evil or darkness. And so the two are kind of like the same, they're different faces of the same coin. And so that's how that explains, the scripture, God, I create the darkness and the light, So, and I think a lot of Calvinists will go that route. That, who says that God is all good? Who says that?
I think that's an inconsistent context there, Scott, to say that the text says, I create, meaning make out of nothing, that which is good and that which is evil, is, I think, to ignore the greater context there when it's saying, I create a situation where this can happen. Oh, you agree?
Exactly.
How interesting.
I'm agreeing with you. Yeah, that's the Calvinist position. Yeah, they'll say that he's creating that space for good to emerge, and you can't really talk about being a loving person unless you have some sort of tension there. You've got to, if everything was good, it loses all meaning.
That's exactly what the evil God objection is disputing, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Can I also point out as well the fact that we are all very mutual, the fact that we are all agreeing, and the fact that we are breaking it down. It's went from fucking 32 viewers to 9. Drama sells.
You want me to start it back up?
Oh, come on, man. Tell me I'm an asshole or something. No, I'm just...
No, I'll make a claim.
I mean, I came on here to talk about abortion, so, like,
really?
don't blame me.
Really? You know,
abortion is morally wrong.
Is it?
It's terrible.
Oh, do you really believe that? You want to have that
I generally would like to hear Soccer's account and let him finish. Sorry.
Yeah, let's play. Sorry.
It went up 2 points because we started shouting at each other.
Yeah. Let's say that my position is abortion is evil.
He was very fucking poignant on that.
I know. I was like, let me at him.
That's why I think he, like Scott said, I think he was trolling. I don't think he's a serious person.
That's what
in any
everybody
way,
says
shape, or
about
form.
Also, yeah, because like most Zoroastrians that I know are very like pro-choice, like very.
You know many Zoroastrianisms?
She knows half of them.
I mean, it's a very small religion, and I know one large family that's
that's
okay,
quite a
so
lot
you
of
know
the religion,
5,
apparently.
right? You maybe know 5 in this little corner over there.
As a
where you live.
percentage, as a percentage, that is a large amount of the Zoroastrians on the planet.
Okay, we're playing minorities now. Are you a bigot, Seamus? Are you going to play that card? Yeah.
I'm just saying Zoroastrian is a very small religion. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So yeah, who knows if
well, now it is.
It's like 30 people in India that still believe it. You know what I mean?
Sammy says he was backstage but couldn't hear anything. I think that's on Sammy's end. We're doing quite well here. Is there any problems, audio or visual, with the stream?
He wasn't backstage.
And just to point out, right, that in India they will believe almost anything.
Sorry, Sammy, you were backstage. But we had for the first hangout. Now we're using Richard's. I've sent you the new link. Do apologise. That's my fault. Happened with soccer too.
It's all Pig's fault.
How about this? How about if Elohim is a plural, and until the invention of Adam and sometime after that, there is no proper singular God mentioned anywhere in the text? In which case, you're talking about a collective, and part of the definition of Elohim is that it's not assignment. There's Artemis. It's not assignment of a good or evil intent to say Elohim, and there can be, in fact, evil Elohim.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, according to like the Genesis, yeah.
Would Elohim be limited anyway? Like, can
what do you mean
Elohim
by limited?
Like, could God be the creation at the same time, or is he limited
the creation
to just being,
at the same time?
Yeah, like
I don't know what that sentence meant.
Like say with pantheism. Pantheism is that the universe is God, right?
Yes.
And so
okay.
Humans make up the universe, so humans are God in a sense. They're part of God or part of the universe, right? So God kind of experiences suffering, sin, you know, also the good things, the bad things.
Give me a thumbs up, Flow State.
And that's kind of like a resolution to the problem of evil, because God would share in the suffering. But you're saying Elohim is like a plurality of gods.
Background noise, Flow.
We have a dog choking on a bone or something in the background.
Yeah,
somebody mute whoever hears that in their home.
It's me. She's dying.
Save your dog.
If I throw any more hydrocodone down her throat, she'll probably die tonight. So
okay, I can fix it. I can help.
Artie, we already discussed that the giraffe is better than the dog. So
no, Scott, what I'm saying is that there's no claim of creation of man by Yahweh, but only by Elohim, which isn't defined as good or evil, not necessarily even having morality. And it's not until the existence of man, that is, I'm saying the Bible claims that we are the God necessitator and maker. That if there is no living moral being, there is no morality. There's no such thing. It's like saying, I once saw a lion murder a gazelle. The sentence makes no sense. I can say I saw a lion kill a gazelle. That's fine.
I have a recording of you saying that you seen a goat sucked out through a 9-inch hole in a tank.
Yes, yes, we did. Double penetration. It was horrible.
Double penetration.
Wow.
See, everybody jumps in that. Yeah.
And the goat.
So what I'm saying is, Scott, that you are Savage. You are muted while you're speaking.
I was just laughing. I was saying, see, I'm demisexual, so it always takes me a minute.
Savage knows. I showed her the video like last week, man. It's fresh in her memory. Okay, I'm sorry.
It was two army guys. It was two military guys talking about military equipment. That's what the conversation actually was.
And I took the entire conversation and I made it about big holes and long things, and I put the Ron Jeremy soundtrack to the back of it, and it was fucking hilarious.
And it still took me forever to get it. Like
it was two army guys talking about their equipment, and it was hot.
Is that what you kids call it these days? Army equipment?
This is what I call Patreon content, folks. All right, Patreon content. All right, you want to see all this mad shit?
Okay, so Scott, what I'm suggesting is what's actually demanded by the Christian text, even from the very beginning of it, is that morality is established subjectively to human beings. And the only thing that can be objective about it is the necessity of what a human being is. That is to say, I believe in the future, when we figure out what a human being actually is, we could then have an objective moral set. Now, if there's a futuristic society, say something that we would right now call heaven, and they've been established much longer than we have, which they claim, and they have an objective view of what the human animal is, then they can have an objective set.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I can't prove their set is objective, but they claim their set is objective.
That's an old Catholic doctrine, what you're talking about there, Richard.
I would have no idea.
Yeah, it's natural law theory. It's this idea that that there's a certain nature to being human. Okay, so like what did Augustine or it's Aquinas. It was Aquinas. So that to be human is to have a certain nature, a certain kind of teleos to them. So in the same way that we can say that like a good human and a bad human would be the same thing as describing like a good car and a bad car. So for example, like a car has a teleos. A car is a vehicle that gets you from point A to point B. And providing that your car gets you reliably from point A to point B, you can say, hey, I have a good car. Okay. But the moment that your car starts breaking down, you have a lemon, doesn't work, or anything like that, your instance of it being a good car vanishes. It's now a bad car because it doesn't fulfill the teleos of that car anymore. And what Aquinas would argue was that humans, he didn't use the car example, obviously, but Aquinas.
I was going to make that joke. Come on.
Yeah, but Aquinas would say the same thing: is that there's a certain nature to being a human, and that is being a rational, compassionate, social creature.
So that's the ground of morality: is human nature.
Well, no, it's the grounding of morality is essentially to act within what is natural for a human to do. And his argument was that it's natural for humans to act in this way that's compassionate, that's rational, that is social, and that any person that acted against that was not fulfilling the teleos of being human. So you can say that they were a bad instance of being human. And a bad instance of human, in that understanding, would be someone who is immoral.
Wildheart, I'm going to need you to flip me off before I bring you on. No, flip me off. There you go.
It's like the mechanics of society. If you behave this way, you'll get this outcome. Like the laws of gravity, you've got natural law. So if you want to have freedom, basically, you behave more. And all the individuals are behaving morally, then there will be no need for external control. As people's morality starts to degrade and they start not being able to trust each other, then you have the situation where this group is fighting with that group, and then next thing you know, you've got the outside government in most cases coming in and putting rules on everybody.
So do you believe in an objective morality?
What do you mean by that?
Like that there is what is right and wrong is always right and wrong, and there's not.
I do think there's objective morality to the extent that people live in a society. Yeah. I think it comes with society. If you want to live alone in a cabin in the woods, then morality goes away. But so
Richard,
does your
check Twitter.
ability to act immorally.
So does morality equal legality?
Not at all. Not even close.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's an easy one. No.
Okay, but then does so you're saying that we have to live in, if we live in a society, and that it's a social construct of. Sorry, I got sidetracked. My.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, I appreciate
you're good. Yeah, I mean, if you live in a society, yeah, you have to be able to trust other people, right? Is really what it's about. You have to trust that other people aren't going to backstab you when you're not looking to operate.
How do you do that?
Well, I don't know. I've never lived in a place like that.
Do you trust that your neighbors are? I mean, you do now. I mean, if you have neighbors, I trust that my neighbors aren't gonna kill me and my wife. it took us a while to get to that point.
Well, that's
but,
a pretty low. That's a pretty low standard of trust, though, to not kill you.
I live in the Midwest, and my wife is trans, so it was.
I live in the Midwest too, but
I don't know that I have much more trust than that, and I'm just a single, straight, middle-aged dude.
Fair enough.
I mean,
and you're white.
And yeah, pretty white.
Bastard.
And you're a wee bit racist.
Yeah, but objectively racist.
I don't have a video of you impersonating Hitler. No, definitely doesn't have.
There is no video of that.
I don't regularly watch that video. And
no, it doesn't exist. It's all a piss take. We're making Artie out to be a cunt. Artie is one of the nicest people ever. Sorry.
I might be German,
you're
but I'm not
me a
that
little
fucking
bit.
German.
Okay.
I'm also half Polish, so that shit just wouldn't work.
I mean,
so
hating myself. It's all about self-abuse at that point.
I don't think Richard actually told me why he has a Toyota symbol on his. Like this is.
Yes, he did.
I'll just say it again briefly. I was born into the tribe of Reuben, which has the same as Taurus, the bull. I altered a Toyota symbol. Yes, it's obvious, but it works.
I was trying to make a joke from the Nazi thing that Artie was doing.
So you're the bull now, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm also a Taurus.
I thought it was to do with
Sorry, did I make it awkward?
Yeah,
I thought it was to do
ruined
with
the
Mazda
fucking
thing.
Divergence. You know, it was trying to be smooth, and you were
there you
all,
go.
what?
I don't believe in humor. Sorry.
Sorry, I don't understand.
That's
humor.
a fucking lie. That's a fucking lie, straight up, because I asked Richard to flat out just do me a who's watching MathPig and go, I'm watching MathPig. That's all I asked him to do. He ended up picking his nose like and wiggling about and then doing a pop on screen. So he fucking, yeah, you know who you were.
No, I'm just imitating others' humor. I don't have any.
That's how I am too.
I've seen
the
you
Men
when
in
you tried
Black
to
sense
dye
of
your
humor, isn't
beard
it?
and it turned out the brightest red that I've ever seen in my life. You're fucking hilarious.
That's called bad decision making. It's not humor.
That was fucking
That's what
hilarious.
happens when you try to dye strawberry blonde.
Is good humor an objective fact of reality?
As a funny joke, Richard's beard actually became a YouTube channel and followed Richard and gave him dog's abuse until he actually stopped dyeing his beard ginger. And then a month?
I didn't actually stop.
What? No, well, you waited. There was a period where your beard was grey.
Mm-hmm.
You delayed the dyeing of it. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So
now I know who you are.
Richard's beard.
Yeah,
actually,
you and I spoke on Peter DeTucker's channel.
I think we've done that at least twice.
Yes.
I don't recall you having a gray beard either time, though.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay, piss on my own joke.
Sorry, okay, so here's the assertion. The definition of God is a set of social structures, that is ideals, that are immaterial, complete, and that there's only living beings participating in that set of ideals, which are the quote-unquote hand of God, which is why sometimes the word angel, messenger, and God are interchangeable.
How do you mean immaterial and complete? Could you just explain?
I mean, that was like bad sentence structure. I mean, completely immaterial.
Well, I just disagree with the notion that anybody can assert what the definition of God is for other people. So, I mean, if that's the definition of God that you want to use, or if that's the definition of God that even you want to assert was believed by any ancient people, that's fine. But they in the conversation with most theists nowadays, they would reject that as the concept of God, which they speak about.
They're free to, but they're going to have to reject the Bible with it because that's the Bible's description of God.
Well, but again,
a lot of theists aren't Christians, though.
Yeah, a lot of Christians aren't theists, and a lot of them have different interpretations.
A lot of Christians interpret the Bible differently.
Did I say it the wrong way?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just you're talking about the fucking great big book of multiple choice here. I mean, fuck, you can make it say whatever the hell you want. I've already had this conversation with you about when you start talking about the symbolism, or you start talking about how so many things are analogous in the book, that you started losing control over actually being able to say what any of it means. Like, for all we know, the Bible could be nothing more than a collection of recipes on how to make different sponge cakes. You know, like that's.
Like, make a strawberry cheesecake instead. I would be more appealing to me if it was strawberry cheesecake.
I believe when you get the Psalms, I believe that's more of a cheesecake type thing. Yeah.
No, you have to go to the Bible code to get the cheesecake recipes.
All about the cheesecake. Yeah. That's twice I've heard Richard snort. He's having a great time.
Sorry. No, Sokka, I think you could be right if you can make the context whatever you want, if you don't require a continuous context, if you don't require a singular authorship, you can do whatever you want with it. I agree.
I don't see how that negates anything that Sokka said. It's still the big book of multiple choice because
no, it's not if there's a singular context.
Well, again, if you wish to interpret it your way, if that's what you mean by singular, then granted.
No, that's not what I mean.
That's my point, is everybody has their own interpretation.
Oh, okay. If you were to ask Christians
and these interpretations disagree with each other.
Yes, obviously.
Okay, so it's not down to a single interpretation.
No, it is down to a singular interpretation that I see no Christian church adopting.
Yeah, you see no Christian. I grant that. I've already granted that, but they see yours as being inconsistent.
No, they don't see mine as inconsistent. They see mine as irreligious.
Where did you get yours from?
If you want to say irreligious or inconsistent, I think they're the same thing, because I would consider different Christian sects having inconsistent views with each other. So that's the way I'm using the word inconsistent.
Just out of curiosity, does everybody on the panel? Now, I know me and Sammy have had long conversations, but does everybody on the panel have a general understanding of Richard's Christian, so to speak, belief?
Yeah. No. I have a fuzzy idea. I think we discussed it maybe last year or early this year.
The last time I asked Richard to do a short version, it took 22 minutes, but
I can do it shorter today. I can do it more succinctly today, at least for Savage anyway.
Certainly isn't going to make a difference on the point that we're actually talking about right now, but by all means, Richard, if you want to.
Well, I think for the conversation, it's going to be necessary that we understand each other's positions. So here's mine as quick as I can. It's not. Okay.
No, because I'm only comparing Christian against Christian and saying, look, we can all agree that they have different interpretations of the same book. Can we not?
Yes, but I think you're conflating some terms.
That's the only point I'm making.
Give Richard 5 minutes.
Yeah, no problem.
So I'll do the best I can, Savage.
Okay.
What religions are describing that assign value to a lineage that leads to us from the authorship, is that they are just really old human beings who never lived here, who have told us these stories in different forms for different societies in such a way that makes sense to their society in fairy tale form, to be translated later by the acts of those same people who authored it. So that when they come and do the things, we understand.
Okay. So you think that there will be a return?
There's never been a mass arrival, so it's not really a return. This is the first mass arrival.
Okay. But you believe that there will be more arrivals?
I think there's always only one arrival.
But there has been previous arrivals on different...
No, don't get into that. She didn't ask that.
But no, I'm confused.
So the laws in the Bible are not really for
us on this earth. They're for those in heaven telling us about our future.
Right. Okay.
I know most of us understand, Richard, but it was for Scott and maybe Sokka.
I'm still not sure if I understand. So they're
all,
writing instructions for themselves in the future.
You only have the 5 days of creation, our existence on the planet, the sixth day, and the prophecy, what they're going to do in the future. And almost the whole story is just prophecy told using animism, existent things in history. Things we know, things like sex and war and townships and people. water, bodies of water, stuff like that.
So it's prophecy.
Yes.
Okay.
Who's God? And where did you get your definition from?
Sorry to interject, Richard, but I think a really important part to know before Richard goes even any further is that an important thing to know is that heaven is essentially a spaceship.
29 spaceships.
29.
Oh, okay. Okay.
How did you come to this conclusion?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
There's 7 months of 2-hour-long episodes every week on my channel.
It's from a Chicago album.
Go back and look at it. It's called A History of. We went over the David and Goliath story for series 1, which is how Richard came to his belief. In series 2, we went over the Book of Enoch.
And then after that,
Gilgamesh.
we did the Epic of Gilgamesh. That's correct.
And this is how these ancient stories relate to Richard's belief system. So, Richard, you don't need to. We made a video about this. You know,
I want to see this video. This sounds really interesting.
Savage, we
just
went
go
so
to
far.
mathpig.com.
Savage, we went so far as Richard's belief does coincide, I think would be the correct word, with what actually will happen possibly in our solar system. There is something that will happen in our solar system that ties in with Richard's belief.
Although extremely unlikely, almost impossible to happen without intelligent interference, the objects exist. And they do have the necessary chemistry to react in a certain way if pushed.
And to this point, I fucking bought Universe Sandbox 2, and we put all this information in. So, you know, we went simulation.
I could say something.
Yeah. 7 months, I think it was, Richard. I miss you, man. I fucking miss you.
Miss you too, brother.
Yeah, I love Richard as well. I think he's a great guy. He's got a generous heart and is well worth talking to. However,
nobody saw that one coming.
However, right. Even your God couldn't predict that. No. However, I do remember a book that you had, Richard, with some rather fantastic, I may say, and intricate details, intricate diagrams. Let's say that. You still have that, do you? Yeah.
Yes. I still have those drawings.
And you've expanded that somewhat, have you? I take it in the last couple of years.
There's only so many physical things that are to be drawn out, you know, in two-dimensional image, and I've drawn out everything there is to draw.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that your worldview isn't internally consistent, and please don't ever take that as some kind of when I talk to you. It's not. I don't mean to add on you or whatever. The only point I was making is that there are other Christian worldview which are internally consistent and they conflict with yours. And
see, but they don't.
They also conflict with other Christian worldviews.
But they're not internally consistent. Ask any Christian about the seven thunders, I dare you.
Sure. I'm pretty sure I could ask some Christians and they would have an answer.
No, they don't. They literally don't.
Catholics have been working at this stuff for some thousands of years.
What are the seven thunders?
I think they've probably got some answers.
In the book of Revelation, John's writing things down. He hears the seven thunders. He's about to write down the seven thunders. The angel says to him, don't write that down. End of story. If you don't have the continuous context that I've adopted for exactly this kind of reason, you won't know what the seven thunders are, even though it's written in the Bible. What the seven thunders are spelled out in the Bible.
I would dispute that there aren't any other Christians that don't think that they know what that is.
Okay. Well, I think I could show it to you in private. You're not a Christian, are you, Simos?
I'm not a Christian, no.
Then I would show you in private.
Why wouldn't you show a Christian?
Because they have no right to know.
It says in the Bible,
don't you consider yourself a Christian?
So
I don't consider myself a Christian per se, not by the label Christian.
Well, there you go.
I always understood the seven thunders as kind of like the witnesses, like the preaching, like the voices, like the trumpets. It was kind of like analogous, same sort of parallel.
Aren't those already spelled out?
Yeah, but I'm just,
in the
I
same
always
book?
thought, but I mean, I don't know if
But those are already spelled out in the same book. So then John either broke that rule or your assessment can't be correct.
Right.
Okay.
Not sure. Not sure.
Or
I guess
there's no explanation given. It's just telling
there
you
is an
about
explanation given. I'll show you in private.
Yeah, that's fine. But I'm just saying that. Well, again, if you're disputing that all Christians have a problem with the Bible, then I don't think that's the case.
Okay. Well, how about this for an inconsistency?
No. Let me just say why first, and then you can give me examples by all means. I think the main reason that they feel it's consistently internally consistent is because there are several different types of writing in the Bible. Right? It's not just literal truth. It's not historical truth. There's also metaphorical truth. There's also parables. There's examples. There's hypotheticals. There's many, many different types of writing. And to say which one is which, okay, that's just another opinion. Right? That's subjective. So you can't objectively say that any one thing is not metaphorical or is metaphorical.
That's fair.
And therefore, it could just be analogies, right? You say you have some interpretation of what this particular passage means. Well, that particular passage just could be an analogy to something much more basic, and just could be backing up some other internally consistent point within the Bible. So
that seems mostly fair to me, Simos. But wouldn't you say that you have no way to measure a piece of literature without an internal consistent reading frame?
I mean, there are ways we could do that. Obviously, if there's logical contradictions, right? That
would be a clue you've got the wrong reading frame.
That would seem to me a clue, but not necessary. I mean, just because there's just because it says in one sentence, and light shone upon the earth, right? It doesn't mean that the whole earth was covered by light. Right. So again, these phrases are usually subjective and contextual. So
would you say there's one being in a certain area at a certain time, and another story says there's two beings in that same area at that same time? Is internally inconsistent?
No, not necessarily, because it could be from two different perspectives.
How about last words of Jesus?
No.
Did somebody just leave early and they thought it was the last words, or?
Possible. Yeah. That's possible.
So that they're wrong. And when they wrote down their experience, they didn't actually watch him die and know those are the last words. They just walked away assuming that.
Yeah.
So now there's assumptions in the Gospels.
Or when he says last words, what the person meant is not the literal last words. He just meant the most important things that were said at the end of Jesus' life.
Okay, so here's an apostle logging the Son of God's experience. Firsthand, supposedly, right?
Yeah.
Walks away early.
Well, I'm just saying that's one.
I mean, that was kind of part of the story, wasn't it? Was that like everybody left, except for like just a few people?
Another interpretation is when it says the last words. The writer could just be saying it's the last words that Jesus said to that person, and that means that everybody could have a different last words of Jesus depending on when they last spoke to him.
Yeah, but it says, last words on the cross, moment of death.
Well, it doesn't say that, does it, in all cases?
Well, I think that's the story that's there.
Well, that's your interpretation, but it could be figuratively used.
Sammy, you are muted, brother.
It does say that. These are... and also the people that wrote it were not there.
That's one way to solve it.
We don't know who wrote it, number one. Okay. So although there are names attributed to these phrases, we don't know that those are the actual people. That's number one. Number two, as I say, it could be a misinterpretation of what was meant by last words. Right? And when you say last words on the cross, well, figuratively, it could be Jesus on the cross.
Then we need to know what parts are figurative and what are not.
Or it could have been the last words before they like stuck him with the little spear,
Well, I'm just saying it doesn't have to be, Jesus on the cross could refer to the whole of his ministry, allegedly. I mean, that's metaphorically possible.
Now these are
these things are contextual. That's all I'm saying. And yeah, we can go on. You can give me as many examples as you like, and I can make up some bullshit about it. But I can guarantee you, there is a Christian out there that probably will say something similar.
Now, why are there apologetics for all this that you're quoting properly, Simos? Why do those apologetics exist?
I don't know whether I'm quoting the.
You're doing pretty good.
I have no idea. I know that the medieval scholars had 7 phrases, right, for the last words of Jesus, the things he said on the cross, right? And all of them, not all 7 are stated anywhere in particular. Okay, so I mean, that's a medieval thing that was made up because they were combining the results of what everybody said about the last words of Jesus.
As far as I can understand, there could be up to 23 conflicting last words of Jesus, and they actually were the absolute last, right before death, words of Jesus. According to the Bible, that would make perfect sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
What I'm saying is, you can solve the problems, the contradictions within the Bible's in the 4 Gospels by just simply saying that there were 4 different events that are recorded there, where the Bible requires there were up to 23 different events that could have been recorded.
It's like
well, like I'm saying, it's 4 different versions of the same event, all recounted differently because they're from different perspectives. I mean, these are just.
But then it's inaccurate.
Well, it's literally inaccurate. Yeah, it's literally inaccurate.
Yes.
Granted, but then it doesn't have to be literal.
I don't know why it'd be valuable without being literally accurate.
Because it could be metaphor. I mean, that's the whole point about it. It could be that the writers are trying to make a different point.
Okay, well,
right? They're just trying to pass
I don't know of a Christians that have a
from the ministry of Jesus, not necessarily from the time that he spent on the cross. Although I believe it's very difficult to speak when being crucified. So if there were any last words,
well, it depends.
I would be fairly surprised.
I think within the first few hours you can talk, but long before you die, you're unable.
So last words probably.
Unless you're capable of miracles, in which case you can talk whatever the fuck you want.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I hear the Barcalounger cross is pretty easy to speak from. But,
it depends. It depends on where it is, because those things don't float.
Another interpretation which which is internally consistent, right?
I mean, I think I could go on giving examples,
and I'm pretty sure I could go on giving contextual answers, right?
Yes, but you're not going to find a consistent one that works for all of it.
I think you probably can, because of what I'm saying about context.
Then we're going to have a trouble justifying why there's different Christian denominations.
No, that's fairly easy, isn't it? That's fairly easy to think, because different people view it from different perspectives. I mean, that's the same as the Gospels.
So if they all have different perspectives, is that because they don't read it the same way?
Well, I think actually it's more to do with the fact of language.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
This is how, culture. Well, this is how language works. It's not some definite article, right? As is the phrase, I think maybe, don't know who said it, maybe Wittgenstein, I don't know. Words have usages, not meanings.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Right? So there are just usages, right? And there are multiple number of usages for each particular word. Especially the further you go back, when there's a smaller vocabulary, then obviously each word has more usages than it does when you come up to this modern scientific world where we have, big dictionaries, etc., with hundreds of thousands of words.
Sure, absolutely. So, I mean, to me, that just says that Christians are kind of making it whatever they want.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's not consistent. And if I can show that every one of those sects have inconsistencies within the Bible itself, even within their own reading frame, shouldn't that at least partially discount their reading frame?
I mean, if you could show that every single interpretation that has ever been and will ever be has that.
Well, I can't show will ever
be. Then yours could only be the only possible interpretation. Yes.
I can't show what will be. Of course, I can't I can't tell you what the future is of Christian sects.
Yeah.
I don't think that's reasonable to ask.
So it's not possible for you.
No, it is possible for me to show you every Christian sect has an inconsistency within the Bible, even within their own reading frame. I can show you that.
Are we going to do
it? I don't think you can.
Well, pick one.
There are just two. No, well, picking one is not going to do it.
And pick a dot. Well, we'll just have to show you.
There's at least what 4,000.
Well, that starts with 1.
Sure, and why should I pick one when I think that they're all wrong?
I guess if you don't want to, and you don't want to have this conversation, that's okay with me.
Yeah, because you're saying something which doesn't make any sense, Richard. Right? Logically,
what doesn't
make sense? Okay, look. Even if you were to show all 4,000 wrong, that still doesn't mean that yours is correct.
Right, it doesn't.
Right. Okay, great. So there's no point in even showing 1 or 2 wrong, right? Which I
can't show mine's correct. I can only show it's consistent within the Bible, ignoring no parts of the Bible. That's all I can show you.
Right, and that doesn't mean anything.
Well, it doesn't mean anything just yet. That's true.
Right. Okay.
Until those things actually happen, then it would mean something.
Right. So even if you could do this, which I don't think you can for the reasons that I've explained, due to the problems with language, the problems with translations, the problems with meaning and different types of meaning, right? All of those problems say to me that it's a pointless exercise to try and debate whether a particular text has one definitive meaning, right? It has usages, right? And those usages depend on context and subjectivity of the person that's reading it. Okay, so that's my position. If you can show me that's wrong, then we can start going down. Okay, it's
only paraphrase. I don't need exactly the same. I need some new words. Actually, I'm trying to understand your stance.
Right, words have usages, not meanings. Right.
Okay.
And usages depend on subjectivity because they depend on the person using the words.
Okay. Yeah.
Many people have used the Bible and come to different conclusions to you. Right?
Savage, I'm going to need you to flip me off. Thank you.
So that's the point. Right? Is you have a usage, right? And you say and claim and can show, according to you, that is consistent, internally consistent.
Okay, so the reason I say
I've heard that claim from many Christians.
Of course.
Right? And they've demonstrated it to a degree. I've brought up objections. Well, when it says this, what does it mean? And I've heard this between Christians. Right? I've heard them between Calvinists and Arminians. Right? And they say, well, mine's consistent. Look. And then the Calvinists will go, yeah, but what about this? And what about that? It means this. And what this comes down to is one person has interpretation of the meaning, the other person has a different interpretation of the meaning, all right? And at the end of the day, they're just using the words differently, because that's how language is used, right? That's what language it means to speak something in a language. So I think the problem is insurmountable, not because it comes from a creator, right? But it's insurmountable because it's expressed through language.
Well, to say it's insurmountable is to say I accept no arguments.
No.
So do you really feel that's true?
I really feel that if you're going to interpret a particular passage, like the soccer said, this is the big book of multiple choice questions, okay? Multiple choice
that's
answers.
Below him.
I think that was his
Evidence
phrase.
Suggests otherwise.
Would you like to just clarify what you meant by that phrase, then, soccer?
Well, okay. I know that you just want me to answer this one question, but if you don't mind if I interject for a minute or here.
Please go ahead. Yeah, I mean, I've said the same thing 3 times, so.
So I think that this is actually really kind of a weird argument, because I think that a lot of people want to argue with Richard on this point, and I actually can't, because I don't find. I agree with him when I say that when he says that no Christian sect really has a a coherent kind of understanding of the Bible. I think that there is just inherent kind of contradictions throughout it. I think that there's a lot of things that people read into the Bible. The entire concept of afterlife, for example, and heaven, hell, like those things, I think are completely inconsistent with the Old Testament as well as Jewish tradition.
Let me stop you and say, what do you mean by inconsistent? Because all I'm saying is that there is no logical contradictions.
Well, I think that so yes, for logical contradictions, I think that's a little bit tough because you'd have to do with what are the contradictories and not in that situation. So, for example, if somebody said yes, there's an afterlife, and then somewhere else it says no, there is not an afterlife, that's a direct contradiction. But if someone says that there isn't an afterlife,
only if they mean it the same way.
Right. And for those things, I think that there's a lot of inconsistencies, there's a lot of changes of numbers, there's a lot of changes of phrase, there's a lot of kind of changes of the stories, and even the basic belief structure. Whether there's inherent contradictions or not, I don't know. I think there's a lot of stuff read into the Bible as well, that is inconsistent, especially with the older tradition that you definitely sees the influence of Christianity. My problem, however, with Richard and his argument is that I think that if you're just to do a basic kind of an abductive inference here, kind of figure out, okay, so you recognize that the Bible, as commonly understood by Christians, has these things that he views as inconsistencies. That the best explanation for this is probably that it's not divinely inspired, that it has multiple authors that are reading their own messages into it, that certain passages were altered later on to add additional information. Now, these are things that we actually have evidence of. We have evidence of stuff that's been extra content that's been thrown into the Bible much at a later date. We understand that there's multiple authorships and that a lot of it is penned anonymously. We understand that there's there's a lot of parts that are historically inaccurate. And so the best explanation for this is that, hey, we can take this as, just stories from an old religion that, don't actually, manifest as any type of real content, that this stuff never actually happened, that there is no actual God guiding the hand of the people that are writing this. That seems like to be a really good kind of explanation for why we have these inconsistencies. What Richard's done is that he feels like he's gone out and tried to square the circle, and because the Bible has these inconsistencies, the amount that he has to stretch in order to square the circle does it work? Maybe in the complete set of works that Richard puts out there, he might actually manage to manifest some type of consistent view of the Bible. But is that the best explanation for why he needed to do this in the first place? And my viewpoint there is that no, that you have to do way too much work. You have to suppose too much stuff outside of the Bible itself. Too many things that are not common knowledge. He has to come up with so many new novel ideas to try to explain something that it loses a lot of the explanatory power that you can simply get by saying, just this is the simple answer. This is not to be taken as a literal book of God or writings of God. This is just a collection of stories from different authors with their own different intent and meaning behind the words.
Okay,
I'd love to argue with absolutely all of that, but right away I have to object to the word needed. I was an anti-theist. I've told you I was an anti-theist. I didn't want this. I didn't look for this. It was dumped in my lap. I'd appreciate not saying needed. I didn't need it at all.
Sucker, that was sorry
Okay.
to you.
Yeah, no, sorry. I will take that correction then, and I will say that he didn't need to do this. That he, I'm not sure how you want me to phrase it. That you chose to. Okay.
Okay, no. I did not choose to. It was literally dumped in my lap. I did not choose. My choice was fast women, fast motorcycles, and actually Morgan and Coke. That would have been my choices.
Richard, if I can offer something,
I understand all of that.
something imposed upon
what he meant by needed, as in not that you needed to do this yourself, but what you needed to do to make the square fit the circle.
That is what I'm objecting to. You're right. That's what he said, which he has recounted on my behalf. Thank you, Sokka.
Okay. So, so could you just sort of paraphrase your argument, Sokka? I think I probably could, but I wouldn't want to misstate it. Do you want to just shorten it up and say something like there's a
okay.
Richard, check Twitter.
The which is breaks something.
The agreeing with Richard in the inconsistency of the Bible, I believe that the inference to the best explanation is better explained through multiple authorship across hundreds of years, with a bunch of writers adding their own subjective position to it, rather than having to infer Richard's viewpoint, which I don't want to make it sound crass, but your idea has to posit several novel ideas as new explanations to offer to new explanations without offering any type of explanation for those. Okay, so it's that basic kind of idea that if your explanation requires more questions, that creates more questions than answers, it's probably not a good explanation.
Would you agree with me, Sokka, that if it does have more explanatory power, then it raises questions, that if it makes novel predictions, that if it is plausible in reality, that if it defies no laws of classical logic, that if it's consistent within itself, and that part of that is that it requires and describes that those are not proper names of persons in the text, but are actually descriptions of jobs in the text, and that there has been, and it requires 23 prior occurrences of those who have done those jobs, then you can have multiple authorship within Matthew, and you don't have an issue.
But that adds different layers to something that could basically simply say that this is written as a secondhand account by somebody with half knowledge.
No, I totally get that. That is simpler.
That's easier.
It's much simpler. I agree with you. Absolutely,
yeah.
I agree.
So that's the only thing that I'm trying to say here is that one of the assumptions of any type of abductive argument is that the best explanation is the actual explanation. But that's wrong. Okay.
But how do you decide what's best?
Well, there's actually explanatory virtues. Okay, so that there's about 7 kind of explanatory virtues that I can kind of explain right now. But that would
you go over those briefly? Just hit the titles.
Okay, so there's fruitfulness, which is that it actually has some type of the power to explain something. That it's novelty. So do you actually have to create something to explain this unique thing, or is the idea that you create here explanatory across the board across other things? So for example, let's say I go into my parking lot and there's a dent in my door. Okay, it could be that the person parked too close to me opened their door and hit my car, or it could be the case that door dinging fairies exist out back and they target red cars.
I love that example.
Yeah, so like in that example there, like that explains then why the instance of my car being dinged is because it's red, but not for my neighbors because it's blue. Or like you have to kind of posit this idea that it's not universal. Does that mean that every single dent that we come across now could also be attributed to these fairies? Is there a dent in your garage door? Are there now a new subset of fairies that do garage doors as well? Like if the thing that you're pausing only explains the one instance of that you're kind of pausing there, that's not actually necessarily a strong thing.
That's 2 of the 7.
Okay, the next one is that it's consistent with what we already experienced about the world. Okay, so this is the coherence of it. Okay, so we already have an understanding. So we understand, like, for example, these writings here, that there are fake authorship to things, that there are people that add forgeries to religious documents. So, like, we understand that. That's kind of coherent with what we kind of already believe about, especially ancient writings. We don't have to posit that it's a multitude of layers across different dimensions or anything like that contributing to the same story. Okay, so that's not really coherent, because we're not going to apply that to, like, when the Voltaire's biographer says that he said, I don't have to agree with what you say, but I will fight to the death to say it, or for the protect the right to say it. Well, that's Voltaire never actually said that, but it's attributed to him. That the most likely to say is that the writer misattributed that quote to him, rather than saying, well, no, that's actually reaching back, and that there's an alternate version of Voltaire that existed in a different dimension that did say that, and this is kind of like a mixture of those works. Okay. So fruitfulness, novelty, coherence. Induction is another part of it. So even though there are inductive arguments themselves, inductive inferences are also a huge part of abductive critical thinking. Oh shit! Okay, what else is there? Coherence. What am I up to? 5.
Yes.
I'm sure the other ones might come back to me as we talk here. I'd have to go, reference my notes on this stuff here. I'll admit that it's been a while.
Savage was patiently waiting to try to say something while you're
Sorry,
paused.
go ahead.
I forgot. It's okay.
Oh,
that happens a lot when I'm in the room. My apologies.
It's okay.
You said a word, I got stuck on, and
okay. So there were a number of different reasons as to why Soccer believes that a better explanation is that, as he said, to do with multiple authors over hundreds of years.
Okay.
And that might be your position as well. And do you think it's multiple authors over hundreds of years, or?
No, I believe there's a singular intention in authorship, that it is written by who it says writes it, but those individuals, according to the text, are already in heaven when they write it. When they receive the Great Commission, they're already in, quote unquote, the upper room, preparing for not the apostles, like the painting. That's wrong. It says for the disciples, the followers. Now, unless you can put 144,000 people in a singular room in an old clay building, I don't think that's what's being described.
I have a
question.
Go ahead, Savage.
You said that
I'm saying it's describing heaven.
Okay, but so you're saying they were written in heaven?
Yes.
How did the physical copy get here?
Well, it's not always a physical copy. First of all, sometimes the messenger doesn't show up with a physical copy. Sometimes they do dance. Sometimes they tell stories from aforetime, as if it already happened here. But in the case of a physical copy, they just bring a physical copy in and distribute the physical copies.
Okay.
Which is why there's no signature copy. There's no singular copy anywhere.
Okay, but how is it determined that that is indeed like the divine text? Whether it's dance or a physical copy or...
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, so let's say I believed in only the Bible. I wouldn't be able to show that.
Okay.
Let's say I found this exact same story set with no additional stories, missing no stories across the planet by people who didn't even share religions in their foundations. So like you can't even say it's all from the ancient Near East. You can't even say that.
Right.
It's much more broad spread than that.
I definitely agree with you that there's like cultural stories and parallels where it's like these people never were able to communicate cross-culturally, but they came up with the same concepts. Yeah.
Right.
Universal truths is what we call them.
And through this, we can say human nature, but the explanation of human nature fails at some point of specificity. You can only say human nature to some extent. Now, it's very personal what you think that extent is. But if I saw only 100% overlap with, say, 1,000 specific points, and I saw nothing but those 1,000 specific points, I'm either able to extremely well fool myself in my personal biases of confirmation, or those stories actually exist in all of those cultures and in those ways.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I just to me, I guess I haven't seen like the 1,000 points of overlap and then no points of overlap on like the.
I'll give you an example. In astrology, Jupiter is the planet of enlightenment. Okay, but it's only the planet of enlightenment, meaning it opens the minds of the people. Okay, it's only the planet of enlightenment if Jupiter is in Mercury's house, which is Virgo, or Bethlehem, the house of bread. And only if Mercury is in retrograde. That is to say that there's this Cyclops giant, Jupiter. It's the fifth character out from Zeus. Hercules looses Hermes. Hermes runs out to the giant and slays him. He becomes the brightness of Zeus's lightning bolts. And Jupiter is literally a short-term star, unrealized. It's literally a possible small sun, brighter than any other star in the sky. But there is no way to say, with that certain view of looking at it, there's no way to say those stories aren't saying the same thing. And if we were in a binary solar system and the Earth came between those two light sources, and you had two sides of the moon lit up in different hemispheres, when one side of the moon is lit up like you only see one hemisphere at a half moon during the day, the other side appears almost invisible. If you had two hemispheres lit up and you were in the day, your perception of daytime, you would have a moon that looked like what? Muhammad had split it. And I can just keep going like that. There's no end to it. As soon as I say binary solar system, it explains like so much of so many religious expressions. It's really pretty darn profound.
Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry, if you don't mind. Sorry, because I just answer the question. I had to go, look at my notes on this again. Just I'll give you the quick 7 of them right now because I got them in front of me. Okay. So the fruitfulness, that it actually explains all observed facts. The depth, that it doesn't explain, that explanations should not raise more questions than the answer. The novelty, the explanations should apply in a range of similar contexts, not just the current situation in which the explanation is being offered. And then the 3 that I can't believe I forgot, falsifiability, explanations should be falsifiable. Modesty, explanations should not claim any more than is needed to explain the observed facts. Simplicity, explanations that posit fewer entities or processes are preferable to explanations that posit more entities or processes, essentially Occam's razor. And coherence, the one I said already.
So which of those did I miss?
Which one of those do I think that you fall short on?
Yes,
well,
please.
I think that you hit the fruitfulness. That I think that your explanations do, like I said, they do explain all the facts as you're putting them out there. I think that it lacks depth. That your explanations raise more questions than it should answer.
Can I address that?
Well, do you think that it does? Or do you think that it does or doesn't?
I think it does not.
So
I think it does answer more questions than it raises. For instance, if David and Goliath, or the story of Angus, or the story of enlightenment of the people is plausible within our near solar system and answers the question, how would you perform the 7 announcing miracles, and in the order given, by the way, a section of the book I hadn't read yet, and it does explain that, then it is explaining more than it's asking.
Interpretation.
Well, I think that the fact that you have to posit entities outside of our planet that are somehow sending messages to us across, or an entity outside of our planet that's sending messages to us across time and space in multiple iterations of events
I don't know
that
who said
happened
that,
multiple times.
But
Sorry,
I know I didn't.
Okay, sorry. So do you believe that there's entities that are not on Earth that are relaying these messages to us?
What do you mean by relaying? You mean in the immediate? Have they been here before in small groups to deliver messages? Yes.
I mean, okay. So there's people out there that have relayed messages that aren't from here from this time.
right? They've not. What do you mean from this time? They're always in the same time as the people they're talking to.
Okay, so they exist in the same time, but they're in heaven already.
That's what's that?
But you said they're in heaven already.
Yes, heaven being a series of 29 spherical red spaceships, essentially.
Okay, all right. So you don't think that raises more questions than it answers?
No, I think there's a really good possibility within a knowable universe this size that there's almost definitely other life forms that are out there. I think that it's obvious within our genetic code that we're a very, very old animal, yet we've only been in charge of this planet for a very short amount of time in like astronomical terms. And that when you consider the hockey stick of increase of technology, if they were only 1,000 years older than we are in existence, their technology would be unrecognizable, undifferentiable between technology and magic. We would look at it with amazement and be just dumbfounded.
Okay, so
wrap up, Tucker, and then let's move on, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, so I'm just this is obviously could be a kind of a point of contention here. Is that, I mean, you might not see it this way, but when you're trying to explain this to people, do you think that your explanation that the people can see it in the same way, that this doesn't raise more questions than what it's actually answering?
I think if you told me about any aspect of your car and I thought that was the explanation of your full car, I'd have many more questions than just what kind of tires are on it. But that just shows the conversation is new. It doesn't show there's holes in your explanation of your car.
Oh, I don't think there's holes.
We'll get there, Scott. We'll get there. Don't you worry. So,
okay, I'll wrap it up. I'm done for now.
Okay, I just want to say that I've spoken to Richard at length on these topics, and I know there's a lot more to be said than he is actually saying.
Yeah.
And I know some of the ideas can seem a bit out of the box, but it's not the case that they're not well thought out, and that there isn't reasons behind the phrases that he's using. So I just want to point that out. I love Richard very dearly, and I know it sounds strange, but that doesn't mean, once again, that it doesn't relate to things written in that bit in the great book, as it were. So I want to say that, and then pass it over to Scott, if that's okay, if everybody's happy with that.
Yeah,
he's
like
been trying to get in there for a while, so
it's like the feeling that I get is that for Richard, because he's got all the dots connected already, like he's got this detailed story that you're trying to relay in bits and pieces. To us, or to most people, it would seem maybe a bit fantastical or a little unbelievable, maybe, probably. But, it's the same situation with, let's say, a creationist who has a very poor understanding of evolution. And if someone who's an actual biologist starts trying to explain to a creationist how evolution works, it's going to seem so stupid. Like, it's going to seem so far out to their mentality, right? So for me personally, like, I don't know, like for me, I don't really find like these sort of beliefs or these sort of things all that crazy, I guess you might say. Like for me, I just kind of look at it like, how can I, as an outsider, come to understand that what you're saying is, how can I be more certain about what you're saying than anything else, like the opposing views, right? And so I would have to like start doing this really basic epistemology, like even just about the nature of God, or even if God exists. Like we could go through that little simple, epistemic practice, that little thing right there, and just ask, how do you know? How do you know? How did you raise your confidence to that level to even know that part? And then we could evaluate that against, maybe some counterfactuals or some sort of counter arguments, right? But I just wanted to let you know that what I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but it's just that your beliefs have a lot of detail that, and it comes across like so many assumptions we have to make. Like, first we have to assume there's a God. Then we have to assume the Bible's true. Then we have to assume that your interpretation, and it goes on and on and on. And so it kind of leaves an epistemic problem for me in the sense that if it's this hard or this kind of confusing, then it doesn't seem God is really revealing anything to us, or to me at least. And so, like, I can't tell the difference between a hidden God and a non-existent one, right?
Perfect.
And so,
can I interject?
Like, it doesn't seem like it should be that hard if God really wants to reveal his true existence to someone like me. I'm a very simple person. Like, if I could pray that, Jesus, strike that tree at 5:01 every day for the next 3 days and carve your initials in it, and if it happened, boom, I believe in the supernatural. Just like that, I believe that this God, Jesus, I have some kind of evidence to support that belief. But if all we really have is this real complicated, convoluted story that requires so many assumptions,
I think you raise a really good point. I think you raise a really good point, but I think you're missing a larger overview that I think is obvious within religions.
If I can, Richard, in the next 5-10 minutes, if anyone wants to move it to your channel, Richard.
Yes,
we can talk about the technicalities of that after I stop going live. But
aren't they technically already on my channel?
No, we're streaming to mine.
Okay, I don't know how that works. You know more about it than I do.
Yes, that's what I said. We'll talk about it off stream. In the next 5-10 minutes, if everybody wants to just say thank you very much and shield themselves or whatever and all that crack, because I've got some dry rub chicken with some raw garlic and some onions and I need to eat before bed. And
Man knows how to
cook.
You're
talking about your balls again.
You keep bringing up my testicles,
not dry rub chicken skins.
You said dry rub, and I thought balls. I don't think that's a mistaken identification.
Some pulled pork.
You rub my balls, they ain't dry, man. All right.
Come on, guys, that's horrible.
No, Richard, we are on my channel, so I'll give you the floor, Richard, because it's been a while since we've had you here, and I think twice we've tried to have you back in this last 6 months, and
scheduling and all that. I have a watch. So Scott, what you said there, and this is the last thing I'll say, and I'll create another stream while you guys shill yourselves, and anyone please, but we are going to have a smoke break. Scott, I think what you said is totally valid as an objection to the revelation of God, and it needs justified why divine hiddenness. That's a reasonable objection. Now, you have to understand that divine hiddenness ends in the story with the book of Revelation and all the signs for an evil nation, not for the believers. The believers already believe. And the arrival of heaven itself onto the planet. So there's your forced inoculation, the time frame where it says, okay, no more. It's going to be obvious to you. And if a person knew the signs and what they meant, then it would be obvious to them that that's what's going on. And that it's way too large to have been accomplished by human beings at any point. And it's designed for the people who don't believe, because the believers don't need a sign, which is obvious once you think about it for a millisecond. So that is the time you're referring to. Until such time, free choice is allowed for by divine hiddenness. After all, there'd be no point in us being here on this earth instead of in heaven unless there was divine hiddenness. We'd all be looking up at heaven, checking our watches, going, today? Is it freaking today? And we wouldn't want to change our baby's diapers, you see.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
always changing diapers. That sounds is a bastard.
I don't think that's as universal as you think it is.
But I mean, if
midrash.
That was your show, Richard. That was your show. I give you the floor, and that was your show.
Okay, can we do Scott next? Because that he can incorporate a response then.
I'd like that.
Yeah, like there's nothing wrong with that, and that as far as I know, you could be 100% right. I would have no idea. And that's the problem. Like, I mean, it could be that this whole thing is some kind of simulation or brain in the vat type of situation. I couldn't disprove that either. but it's a different model
Never
that could
know.
explain the same things, or it could be that, as we kind of talked about before, that there's just more natural explanations that can explain the same thing that are consistent. And for me, it would just be a question of, well, what seems more likely at this point? Like, I mean, it just strikes me that if, unless I had some sort of special revelation, it would just seem more likely to me that a more natural explanation would suffice. But that's just me and my presuppositions, and I admit that. But that's just based on my experience and based on track record about everything that was discovered in the world that used to be pointed to as produced by God has always turned out to have a natural explanation. Every provable, every evidenced solution has always had a natural explanation. Why all of a sudden now do we start thinking God has something to do with, the mysteries of interpreting the Bible and stuff like that? That's just how it strikes me. But like I said, you may be 100% correct, but I have no idea. So I don't see any reason why I should believe any of this stuff,
Okay, and did you want to just, if you do a channel, or where can we find you? Find you if they want to.
Prometheans, secular. I have I do a little show on Thursdays, at 7 p.m. every Thursday. It's like a debate show called Debate in the Sandbox, or Sandbox Debate Club. I always get this mixed up. It's kind of brand new.
Okay, I think Richard has.
Okay, and which channel is that on? You said
Promethean Secular Frontier.
Secular Frontier. Thank you very much. I don't know who wants to go next. Wild, do you want to say your channel? I think you're on Twitch now. Is that right?
On Discord and on Twitter. I just want to say thanks to MathPig. He's helped me out a lot today, and hopefully I'll be getting my YouTube channel back. So carrying on the streams from there. But thanks, MathPig. The guy rocks. Cheers.
Excellent.
Appreciate it. Artie, you're on the big screen. What do you got to say?
Wow. I wasn't prepared for this.
Oh, well, it's not like your full screen, but...
I just want to thank my parents for making all of this possible by having sex at least twice during their marriage. I want you to know that I'm most likely to be found via a Google search or a YouTube search, but at a brain sample, absolutely misspelt, is where you're most likely to see me. But I'm also occasionally a YouTube search away.
If you look in the chat for the stream, that is Artie's Twitter. So.
Okay, thanks.
Savage Minnow, you're fucking muted. You're still muted. There you go. There you go.
I'm already okay. I'm Savage Minnow. You can watch me on YouTube at Savage Minnow, or on Twitch, Ophelia Hartwig, OPHELIA HARTWIG. I stream on Fridays with my mom in the morning, 10 a.m. Central, and we do a stream called Gamer Mom Cooking, where we hang out and talk about Reddit posts and do silly shit, and sometimes we cook stuff. But we always wear aprons, and it's a good time, and you should come hang out.
And next week they're making chicken fricassee.
We might be. I wasn't going to tell them that. My mom doesn't know yet. I got to make stuff beforehand, too.
Okay, you've got the link for Richards. Click it. Jump out. We'll work around the room. Who's next on the list? 420 Atheist, you're next in the stream.
Yeah, I haven't got any recent videos. I'm halfway through one about some Australian political shit. So if you're interested in that, come have a look.
What, you don't have a Friday stream where you drink beer?
No, he's not one of them.
I should get one though.
Oh, you're not one of those. Okay.
See, to have any of you cool people in it, I'd have to be drinking in the morning. and I'm getting a bit old for that.
If you're free 1 p.m. on a Friday and not working, Samos, we could start an alternative one of them. That would be really, really funny.
Okay, we'll talk about that. We'll definitely talk about that.
Right, 420. Sammy, if you're going to Richards, click the link, jump out.
Is it in the private chat?
It's also in the live chat as well. Flo.
I'm Taylor. I have a channel called Flow State that it's YouTube/C/Flow State. You won't find it in the search probably because I spread misinformation. Check it out, subscribe to it, and send a link to a friend or to your mom. She'll love it. I'm going to go to Richards and see if I can get him to tell me about the 7 thunders before he starts. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I knew he was mad, but flat out admitting that he spreads misinformation. That's Samos or Shaka, whoever speaks first.
I'll go first. My name's Savage Minnow. I have a channel on YouTube as well as Twitch. I stream on Fridays with. Oh shit, she's still here.
I was going to say, I suddenly grown a great attraction towards Savage Minnow. I don't know why. Must be the sailor in me.
That's exactly it. No, I am Saki. You can't find me on YouTube. You can't find me on Twitch. Can't find me on Twitter. Well, you could find me on Twitter.
Can't find you fucking anywhere, man. I've been trying to have a hangout with you for a fucking year.
Yeah, I haven't been on Hangouts for a year. I've been kind of stepping away from this. I'm out of fucking practice, man. Like, oh, geez. Like,
in seriousness though, the last time I seen you stream, I think you like 2 kids running in and around behind you, and you were still managing to mod 4 other people. So fair play to you, man. The last time you did this, you were quite good.
Yeah, it's fun. I don't jump in the Hangouts as much as possible. I do actually try to catch your stuff though when it's on, whenever I see it live, because I do enjoy the conversations you have. But yeah. I'm probably going to be around. I'm not going to be around for another month because I'm leaving again for a bit. But probably in 2022, I'll be jumping in, probably trying to do a little more Hangouts and stuff again. I think I am on Twitter. I use that literally to troll somebody, so it's probably not the best place to find me. Hey, you might see me around. That's all I got.
Yeah, we definitely should hit me up on Discord or something, man, because I would like to have you on. You've been around for a while, you're an opinionated motherfucker, and you're not afraid to say that. So I would definitely like to have a conversation with you.
Awesome, sounds good. Yeah, you got me on Discord now.
All right, get the fuck out. Samos, you're next.
And stay safe. So I do a show with Fabio on Monday evenings, 8 o'clock UK time, whenever there's been a Formula 1 race, and I do gaming content on my channel, which is of course YouTube/Simon's Funk. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me on. And that's great.
Oh look, they're all coming back. Did you not get the shill enough? No.
Oh shit.
Oh, and
I didn't even realize I was on. What?
I'm going to be doing a series with Savage's mum as well.
You see, that's not funny, right? Because there's context, and that's a slight dig at me, because he knows that my mum watches his gaming streams. So you can get the fuck out, Samos. Right?
It's not at you. That's not a dig. It's just to say. It's just to say that mums like me. What can I say? I'm that kind of guy.
Yeah.
I bet my mom would do a stream with you.
I bet I'd do your mum with a stream.
I don't know that I would mind.
This time of night, right? Just to point, Samos.
I'm actually blushing now.
Samos, this time of night, Savage gets like you on my after parties. She's all breaking out the fucking bikini and shit, like
Yeah. Yeah, we have like minds, I can tell. So that's nice.
Thank you, Samos.
Anyway, thank you very much, MathPig, and thank you to Richard as well.
Savage, have you not got a chance to chill, or you want to come back and chill some more?
I did. I'm over on the other stream, but there's nobody there.
Leave and go to Richards, and then you come back.
There will be in a minute. As soon as MathPig closes this out.
Yeah. I was just listening to everybody else chill. It's enjoyable.
All going well. Thursday, I'm waiting for confirmation. Mike Curry, if anyone's heard of Mike Curry.
The ice skater.
Pardon?
The ice skater?
No, the footballer.
Not the ice
I was thinking of the ballet dancer, but that's Scott McRae.
We're not. You see, you have to sleep on it, right? Anyway, all going well. Thursday, Mike Curry will be coming back again. It's been about 9 months since he's been here. He's more of a Facebook debater, more streams on that, so it'll be good to get that sort of audience in, a different sort of perspective on what the boomers think. And other than that, I think we've got Danny as of tonight, next Tuesday, coming on at 10:30 UK time. So that should be interesting conversation. So, thank you to all the Patreons. Thank you to all the fucking members and all the people that put up with this fucking mad shit. It's just... Richard, we love you. We miss you. If Danny's next Tuesday, you're next Thursday. 3:30 your time. You do next Thursday, 3:30 your time.
Next Thursday, 3:30 my time.
Thursday coming, as in this Thursday.
No, it's gonna have to be not Thursday. I got a show scheduled then. Can't be Thursday.
No. Next Thursday. Yeah, next Thursday.
Yes, it's a regular show Thursday. Yeah.
Okay. Next Tuesday. Tuesday.
Tuesday week, you mean?
Tuesday week. Tuesday 2 weeks.
Tuesday week.
Tuesday a month.
All right.
Some Sunday.
That's lovely.
Just fucking send me a message, man. We'll sort something. I swear to God.
That's lovely. We'll do that.
We haven't been on ages. Right. Savage, how do you keep getting back in here? Who keeps letting you in? Right. Okay, on that note, everybody, thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for everybody, all the rest of it. Bollocks. Check out the cool outro. Love yous all. Think for yourselves, people.